It's time to hear it from Harlan. Utah Athletics Director Mark Harlan brings you behind the scenes of college and Utah athletics.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the January edition of the Hear It From Harlan podcast. Along with Mark Harlan, I'm Mike Lagerschultz. Coming up on the show, we'll look back at Utah's Holiday Bowl appearance and dive into lots of other football news. Winter sports is in full swing. Mark will share his thoughts on what he's seen so far of the winter sports teams. Also, freshman guard Drew Gilta of women's basketball will drop by for a one-on-one with Mark. And men's lacrosse, Utah's 20th varsity sport, is ready to get its season underway on February 1st. And also, we'll get to some of your questions as well. Mark, welcome.
Well, good to see you again, Mike. It's always fun to tape this and get everyone caught up to speed. And I guess I would say to everybody, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Yes, same to you and your family. And been a busy stretch for you with the Holiday Bowl, all the festivities around that, a bunch of basketball games. Your first gymnastics meet a few weeks ago as the Red Rocks got things going, and also a chance for you to attend the national championship football game, Clemson and Alabama. You've had a busy 2 or 3 weeks since we've talked to you the last time.
Yeah, you know, it's the great thing about this business. There's something going on every day, and certainly the month of December as it leads into January is quite chaotic for all the great reasons when your teams are having such success and you're attending these great events and being a part of it. But it's a joy, and it was a great time to see so many Ute fans along the way in all those stops.
We'll talk more about the bowl game in a bit, but before we get into the scores and all the sports news, Mark, some great news yesterday on the academics front. The fall semester grade report came out. Utah shattered the fall semester department record all time, a 3.295 cumulative GPA. In fact, 18 of Utah's 20 varsity teams achieved a GPA of 3.0 or better, 7 above a 3.5 mark. That's just terrific news on the academics front.
Well, it's incredible. You know, it was such a competitive season, and you know, kids are working so hard, and then to get that kind of a result in the classroom is extremely gratifying. And I think anyone that supports our program, and there's thousands that do, I believe strongly that's the reason that they do. We want great competitors, you know, not just in competition, but I want them, and we all should expect them to compete in the classroom at the highest levels.
Yep.
The numbers were record-shattering across so many different sports. You know, see football get their highest, semester GPA that we've recorded at the same time that they win a South championship. And I can go on and on about other teams. I mean, baseball just knocked it out of the park. You know what they did. So such a testament to our coaches who bring in these kind of young people who get it, and our academic staff who is slightly understaffed right now, which I got to fix, and they just perform because they care so much about our young people. So great job to our student athletes, great job to everyone that supports them, and we're just frankly really, really proud of it.
Yeah, great news, and that comes on the heels of the report that we had a 95% graduation success rate earlier this fall. So you talk about kids getting it done while they're here in terms of GPA, graduating, it's all coming together. And Mary Chris Finnegan and her staff do a great job over there. They care deeply about these individuals, and it shows with the track record we've seen this past year. So great job on their part. Well, Mark, the Holiday Bowl, best bowl game for the Utes since they joined the Pac-12. I think when we joined this league, that's one of those bowl games fans got excited about, was a chance to go to San Diego, and a great matchup against Northwestern. Didn't work out the way we had hoped, but I think the fans went down, had a good time. The weather's always great, except for the game when it rained for like the third time in 40 years of the bowl game's history. But still, I thought it was really a great showing by our fans and just a fun experience for everyone who got a chance to go down and take part in it.
Well, first, I just have to thank everybody. It was an enormous turnout. It exceeded our expectations, and we had high expectations. It was a great week. The team got out there on the 26th. The Holiday Bowl committee did an unbelievable job from the moment we landed on the tarmac to greeting us to taking care of the team. The hotel was terrific. It was just a phenomenal experience. We sold out all the hotel rooms, and our fans were able to be at the team hotel. The other hotels that were involved, everything just was sold out.
Yep.
And it was just a great interaction between the Northwestern program and the Utah program throughout the week, touring active, aircraft carriers and all the incredible things that we did. So, obviously disappointment after the game for everybody involved, whether you were playing in the game, coaching in the game, administrating as a part of the game, or certainly coming all the way out. I think I've had time to really reflect on not only that game, but just the season and the remarkable step forward that the program made tremendous senior class effort to get us to that South Championship. Incredible job by Kyle and his group of coaches. So, very excited about the season and extremely excited about what's ahead. And we know a lot of our young people are back. We lose some very key seniors now. There's no doubt about that, but a lot of our folks are back. And, I think the future is really, really bright. So, good season. We would have loved to have had that 10th win. But we fought hard against a really, really good Northwestern team. Obviously, turnovers will get you. They do, and that was a really kind of a crazy situation. But I appreciate everybody being there and staying with us. And we know August will be here before we know it.
You and I were talking after we found out Tyler Huntley was hurt, and then Zach Moss went down, and then Covey went down in the Pac-12 championship. And you're like, those are three of our top guys on offense. I thought just to get to a bowl game and win as many games as we did, that was a terrific job by that coaching staff to really just keep things together for as long as they did late in the year.
And no coach is going to talk about that, but I think it's fair for you and I to talk about it, right? And the good thing is, we were able to fight through that and do all the things we were able to accomplish. And Chase not playing in the game,
right? That as well.
Certainly Chase was just a remarkable player, not only in this conference but in this country this year. But you know what? The depth is there, and so we were able to fight through it. But again, real proud of that team. I got a chance to see a bunch of the guys yesterday down at lunch, and they're bounced back. They're already back in conditioning. It's funny. The kids bounce back faster than we do, Mike.
I think you're right.
The fans,
yes.
But the kids are back. They're in there lifting and they're getting ready. They know we open with BYU in August, and they're just plowing ahead.
Great news as well last week. Some significant seniors who could have left for the draft. Zach Moss is back. Bradley Anai, defensive end. Lucky Fotu on that defensive line, and Julian Blackman. All four of those guys could have left and foregone their senior year. They decided to come back. So that's huge to get those four guys back for one more year.
Yeah, it's just terrific. They're such great guys, and it'll be fun to be around all of them again, much less what they'll accomplish on the football field. But just to have them around and spend more time with them, I think I'm really excited about that. But that speaks to culture. It speaks to Kyle. It speaks about what it's like to play in this program. They want to graduate. They want to compete, and we're so proud that they're back.
Yeah, great quote by Zach Moss referring to that chance to get a college degree. I thought it was wonderful.
You don't want to anger mom, right?
No, you don't.
You don't want to anger mom. And I think that's exactly what that was all about.
Yeah. Other news last week as well, Mark, Andy Ludwig coming back as our offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. He was in the same role at Utah. When Kyle Whittingham took over as head coach from 2005 to 2008, he was a part of that great Sugar Bowl run, 13-0 season. Most recently, he was the OC at Vanderbilt since 2015, spent time with Gary Anderson in Wisconsin in 13 and 14. In fact, those 2 years with the Badgers, they went 20-7, had record-setting numbers on offense. And I got to know Andy when he was here the first time. I met with him every week for our radio broadcast, and I just felt like he and Kyle were on the same page all the time. He understood what Kyle wanted with this team in terms of how it's built from defense first, run the football, take some shots downfield, speed and spaces is what he always told me. I just think to get him back is a terrific hire for Kyle Whittingham and the staff moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, Andy is a very accomplished football coach in all regards. Worked in most of the Power 5 conferences, got a chance to get to know him during this process. Really impressed. He's a pro's pro. I think you stated it very well. He also understands Kyle. They work together as assistants. He's worked for him and fits right into the culture of what is Utah football. So very excited. I love the way that Kyle approached this. Really took his time to take a deep dive in what is needed, knowing the kind of team we have and the kind of program we're where we're at right now, and really methodical process. We communicate a lot throughout it, and really excited that Andy's here and he's off and running too.
All right, when we come back, winter sports are in full swing. We'll catch up with Drew Gilton of the women's basketball team. That's when we continue with the Hear from Harlan podcast in just a moment.
Now, it's time for Utah's head man to catch up with one of our star student athletes. Once again, here's Ute Athletics Director Mark Harlan on the Hear It from Harlan podcast.
Well, as always, the best part of the podcast is when I have an opportunity to sit down with one of our great student athletes, and that is absolute case today. Drew is here to update us on the women's basketball season and update about all the other things that she has going on. But good morning. Thanks for coming over.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
We were just talking about all the things that student athletes have to do, but today's actually your day off from women's basketball.
It is. Tuesdays are great days.
And we dragged you in here. So my apologies. Well, listen, it's just probably been the sports story of the year for Utah athletics. You guys are off to just an amazing start. You're 15-1 overall. 3-1 in the league. I don't want to bring up the one because that was such a tough one, but a buzzer beater against a ranked Arizona State team. So just really a point second away from being undefeated. Mm-hmm. What do you attribute this to?
I think I have a couple things. The first thing, I think we had a really good off season. We had a great group of freshmen coming in. And I think our coaches from the beginning just put what they wanted the season to be. And then we all just bought into that. And I think every single person on the team, even though we only have 8 playing right now, we're all on the same page and we all have the same dreams in mind that we want for this season. And so I think that's a big part of it. And second of all, I think we know what we want and we know how we want to play. And that give a lot of contribute to our coaches for that, but we're all on the same page, and I think that shows when we're playing. I
think it does. I mean, watching you guys play, there is a certain energy that people have talked to me about. I see it when I go to the games, and it really seems to be a very cohesive group. Now, there's a certain viral video that took off a little bit on the bus ride to Pullman. I looked this morning to see if you were in the middle of that. I saw you there. But if you haven't seen it, it's a little karaoke that our women's team, when you drive into Pullman, there's things you have to look to do, and that's what you guys did. But I saw NCAA women's basketball Twitter retweeted, so it's all over. But doesn't that kind of go to the kind of fun you guys are having and the joy to be around each other? Yeah,
I think it shows on and off the court. On the court, I think everyone just plays for each other. I think that shows when we always share the ball. It's not one person is taking over. Everyone contributes. And I think that, like that video, for example, we have a great time spending. We have a lot of time spending time together, and I think we just make the most of it. If that's singing, dancing.
Hopefully, everyone knew it was being filmed and it was going to be seen by thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah, now it's all over.
You guys know that stuff. You've grown up in the social media. So let's talk about you, right?
Okay.
So come from South Dakota. We're going to get to that in a minute. And you have a really interesting story, and it's a story I think that a lot of people need to hear. Because, profound high school basketball player, right? Everything's going great. You got the Pac-12 scholarship, everything's perfect, and then down comes a really devastating injury that it was not part of your plan, I imagine. That caused you to redshirt. You may have redshirted or not, but I think coaches intimated you wouldn't have redshirted last year. And so you had to go through that whole process. And then you come in this year, and you've exploded onto the scene. The top nationally in assists, and leading the conference. You're one of the top freshmen in the country right now. So walk me through how you managed to fight through that adversity and to be so successful right now.
Yeah, it also comes down to a couple things. First of all, my support group that was behind me through the whole way, my family and my friends, and even the coaching staff here at Utah. There wasn't one day that I felt alone. They kept calling me, telling me everything was going to be fine, that this is the plan I was going to have to go behind now. And so sitting out last year, I think I learned a lot. I was able to sit and watch the offense and the defense for a whole year. I mean, it wasn't my plan sitting on the bench the entire time, and it was really difficult at times. But I think taking a break away from basketball for a whole year kind of just gave me a greater love for the game, even more than I thought I had before. I mean, I've played basketball my whole life, so what else is there? But sitting out, I learned a lot about myself, about my body, about basketball in general. And I don't know what I would have done without an injury. It's not something you always want to go through, but you learn so much going through it.
Yeah, that's amazing. But there's two things that come to mind. You play without fear. There's no fear in your game. Some folks come back and maybe they're hesitant because they know. And the other thing that comes to mind is, unfortunately, your team has been bitten by this bug, which is another amazing thing when you consider the success of the team this year. So you're able to really help some of your teammates. What is it now, 3 that have gone down in the last 12 months to season ending, including obviously one just last week. So I imagine you're really helping them get through that too.
Yeah, I think both Mo and Denisha came to me right away just saying, how did you do this? How am I going to do this? And I'm like, I was in your position. There's going to be so many emotions going through your head, especially in the weeks to come. But I think it helps going through it and just being there for my team, knowing that they were there for me last year,
right.
and just to give back to them for everything they helped me with. Like I said, if I wasn't injured, I wouldn't be able to do that. So I think it helps. But yeah, it's something you really don't want to go through, but after you step back and look at it, right. Sometimes it could be a blessing.
Yeah. We'll talk about the fear part, because you clearly have none. I mean, is it just something you're like, you went through it and you're just going to attack? It's the only way you know.
Yeah, I think one thing is I don't wear a brace, and I think that helps. I kind of just wanted to put my injury behind me, not letting me slow it down or have any effect on how I play. And I think that, like you said, it kind of shows, but not playing for a whole year, you kind of get the buildup of love for the game. And when I'm out there, I really don't want to think about it. I just want to play how I used to play and just play like nothing's wrong, and nothing is wrong anymore. So
well, that's exactly right. And to get through that mentality is the toughness that physically,
yeah,
and then of course your mentality. So just great work on that. So South Dakota, grew up, and you corrected me a little bit. It would be unfair to say or unreasonable to say it was a horse farm that you grew up. So we're going to call it a horse ranch.
That's better, yeah.
So you're obviously passionate about basketball, but a little passionate about horses too, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think when I was at the age of 5 is when we actually have 5 horses. And growing up in South Dakota, it's not like the big city life like it is here. It's just, you kind of have to find things to do. So I found another love riding horses, just out in the Black Hills and around the area. Yeah.
It's just something you love to do.
Yeah.
And your dad is a big time coach. I know he recently retired, but he coached you.
Yep.
So obviously, I'm sure your parents. I also understand they travel. They're everywhere, which is just so neat. I love when our student athletes' parents are able to go to everything. But I'm sure he had a profound effect not only on your game, but how you play the game.
Yeah. He coached me. So I started in 7th grade. I started varsity at a different school, and he was my coach then. So
wait. Varsity in 7th grade?
Yes.
Well, that's a little different. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, South Dakota a little smaller.
I get it.
So yeah, he coached me in middle school, and then as I got to high school, I transferred schools. So he kind of stayed just as a parent. But I think his impact on me mentally, I know it was difficult having your dad as your coach because he's just always hard on you and always pushing you to become the best. But I know without him, I don't know if I would have been able to play in the Pac-12. So I give a lot of credit to him as well. And both my parents played in college. So I think their impact of the love that they had during college for basketball reflected on me. And I think they knew that what they had, they wanted that for me.
That's great. Well, it's really interesting. We have a lot of young people in our program whose parents coached them either individually or in their team. And it is interesting what they can pass along, and I look forward to meeting them. I haven't met them yet, but I'm going to look for them. So let's close with this. We got the Buffaloes coming in here on Friday night, big game, and then we continue in the epic Pac-12 women's basketball. I think I was glancing at that the other day. By the way, you probably saw I was a little upset we aren't ranked, and I've been making that clear everywhere I can. I know we jumped up. I think we're 27th now. But as I look up the poll, there's some other folks that we know well that are also residing up there in the top part of that poll. So here we come. We ready for it all?
I think we are. I think our team doesn't mind being the underdogs. Yeah, we are 15-1 and 3-1 in Pac-12 play. But I think that's just been our story. We just know how to play together. We know what Utah basketball is, and we just play every game like we're the underdogs. And I think that fuels our fire. That makes us want to come into practice every day, wanting to get better, wanting to beat teams we haven't beat in the past. So I think that's what we've taken into every game, and that's what we're going to take into Friday's game as well.
Well, it has been just such a joy to watch you guys play. I was with Coach last night at an event, and we were talking about just how much she enjoys coaching you guys as a group, getting back to your earlier comments about there's a lot of skill in the team, and everybody's a Pac-12 athlete, but it's just fun to I think, for her to be around you guys, because you guys are such a great group. Well, good luck. Enjoy the rest of your off day.
Thank
you. Which, by the way, anyone listening, and I think my mom's the only one that listens sometime, and probably your parents, but the off day for a student athlete is really, you got school, right? And you've got this thing, and you got all this other stuff to do. It is a challenge, but you're doing such a great job. But thanks for coming in today,
Thanks for having me.
Really, really appreciate it.
And welcome back to the January edition of the Hear from Harlan podcast, along with Mark Harlan, Utah's AD. I'm Mike Lagerschultz, and Mark, always a favorite segment of our show is when we sit down with our student athletes. And, Drew's conversation, when she mentioned she started playing varsity high school basketball in 7th grade, I kind of leaned back and I'm like, did she say that right? And we talked to her after, and she goes, yeah, it was a small town. My dad was coaching, and he needs some help. And I think he made a good decision to have 6 years of varsity basketball in high school before she came here. She's a tremendous individual. Just fun to get a chance to sit down and listen to her visit with you for a little bit.
Yeah, she's great. She's so tough. I mean, she is. She's been one of the key reasons why this team has had such a terrific start. And it's always fun learning something new every time I visit with one of the student athletes. And I asked her too. I said, "Wait a minute, off the air." I said, "So you were competing against 12th graders when you were 7?" She goes, "Yeah." And I said, "You took it to them, huh?" And she kind of nodded a little bit. So she's just great, and another terrific example of the incredible young people we have here.
All right, Mark, always busy. Winter sports are in full gear. Gymnastics, as I mentioned, has opened up. Women's basketball, men's basketball, some highlights you've seen the last month or so from our winter sports.
Well, it's just it's been terrific to see so much competition of late. We've had a lot of great home contests. I mean, men's basketball, challenged themselves, I think, profoundly. We talked about that a lot in previous podcasts. I think it helped them going into that tough start up at Arizona, down in Arizona, and, played really well. Just missed, sweeping them, came back, ran into a tough Washington team, but then we bounced back really well against Washington State. So we're even up as we head into, a nice week to get things together. And I think the freshmen are really coming together. I think that's the story of the team. I think right now is these freshmen are good, and they're coming on, and I think Larry is he's squeezing everything out right now. We've talked about women's basketball and everything they've done. They've got a gauntlet coming, but they're ready for it, and I think they've done a great job in that regard. Gymnastics, right? I mean, I people have asked me a lot in the community, what did I think? I had high expectations, and everything was blown away. I mean, walking into the arena, seeing the energy, it was a show. It was a Broadway show with elite athletes.
Well put.
And it was. I told my staff afterwards, I just said, guys, great job. They're used to doing it all the time, but I wanted to remind them, when you come in and you haven't seen something like that, how special it is. So again, we still got some seats up there, and so if folks want to come down and see, I think we have a game coming up. Got a meet coming up against Arizona here in a couple weeks. So keep an eye on that squad, and they did a nice job at BYU.
They sure did
this last week, and so they're off and running, and of course our ski program.
Yes,
they had a great weekend.
Yeah,
and I talked to Coach, and he was really, really pleased on our start. I'm still trying to figure out why we don't have a home competition this year, because the last time I checked, Mike, we got some mountains up there.
We do. We have a couple.
I guess every 3 years we don't have a home competition. So I got to figure out a way to work on that, because I want to go see them. I may have to fly. I think they're in Alaska this weekend or something.
I believe you're right. And you talk
you
about
drive 20 minutes.
I know. Olympic class venues just up the canyon.
So we got to. Nona and I got to figure that one out. But he's doing a great job, and so. If I missed anybody, forgive me on their teams, but this is the time of year we got it all going on.
I'll point out one more, Mark. Men's and women's swimming both ranked top 30 in the country. The men are 19th, women 27th, according to some of the latest national polls. Their last home meets of the year, January 25th and 26th. They both had great years, and tennis just getting started as well. Women's track and field getting underway this weekend. So we'll have more about those sports later on, but I want to mention that swimming team doing a great job for Joe Dykstra.
I talked to Joe just last night, and to your point, he is thrilled, really at turning the corner in that program, and excited about them. And to your point, not only are the winter in the full swing, here comes our spring sports. So
yes.
This is the awesome time of year.
Right around the corner. Before we get to some questions from our fans, Mark, we want to mention as well lacrosse getting started. The inaugural season of our 20th varsity sport, the first home game, February 1st, 4 o'clock against Vermont at Rice-Eccles Stadium. That will be the one game we play there. 6 home games. The rest will take place at Judge Memorial High School at the McCarthy Field. The second home game, which will be at Judge, will be February 9th at noon against Mercer. So everyone's excited. I mean, to add a sport's always a big deal. Lacrosse is a sport that's really growing across the country. I know they're looking to grow it more towards the West. This is a chance to do that, and Brian Holman can't wait to get going. That should be a lot of fun on February 1st over at Rice-Eccles.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I had a chance to go to practice this morning over at the Eccles Indoor, and it's fascinating how Brian does the drills. And got pretty fired up watching these guys. They're so excited, and it's a historic time for us. If you stop and think about it, it's not often you launch a sport, and here comes our 20th team, and they're ready to go. I mean, tough schedule, and we're going to go through a process. And Brian's done such a great job of leadership. Love being around those kids. My support staff talks about the lacrosse team is one of the funnest teams for them to be around because, this is new for them too, and a real special deal. But like I said, it's a groundbreaking moment, not only for University of Utah, but for the Pac-12 conference.
Yep, great point.
Being a men's lacrosse team. And I'll keep chiding my colleagues about, hey, this is a lot of fun. Why don't you guys get one of your teams?
Yeah.
But here we go. Friday afternoon, if people get off work a little bit early, come over to Rice Eccles and watch a historic moment and watch our lacrosse team compete.
It's a tremendous sport. If you haven't watched a lot of it, I always watch the Final Four every year over Memorial Day weekend, and now I'm starting to get into it. But Brian's a terrific coach. He won NCAA titles as an assistant at Johns Hopkins in North Carolina, both Big East powers or East Coast powers. So we got a terrific head coach to spearhead this thing for us.
Yeah, his leadership, like I said, has been profound. He's been to the promised land. He knows what it takes to get there. But I also think, as I've told him, this is a process.
Yep.
And we're just jumping into this thing, and I've just been so impressed with everything he's already accomplished.
All right, Mark, we've got some questions coming in via Twitter over the weekend from fans, so we'll get to some of these, and thanks everyone who submitted. We won't have time to get to them all today, but we'll get through a good chunk of them. Mark, the first one is from Richard R. He says, what are your thoughts about football scheduling? Despite the 9-game conference schedule, should we play more Power 5 teams than we do? Why or why not?
Wait, are you telling me on Twitter we got a football scheduling question?
Yeah, can you believe that?
That's a shocker.
Of all things.
Well, I think what's really, as I've said before, every season, every team has its own needs and scheduling depending on how things lie. I am a proponent of the 9-game schedule for the conference. I think that's something that we should do. My energy on that regard is to try to get others to get to 9 rather than us rolling back. I think it's very important. I'm kind of bummed that we don't play everybody in our conference. So I'm always going to be a very strong proponent of that. As far as what we need to do, it's just something that Whit and I continue to talk about. What makes sense for us? What doesn't make sense? And I think that you got to be very strategic on it, and you have to look ahead. We are in communication with the folks that are kind of heavily involved in scheduling, taking a look at opportunities. I've scheduled throughout my career, and always trying to strike that balance.
I've heard some national analysts talk about a 9-game requirement from all conferences. If you want to play in the playoff, play 9 conference games and avoid the FCS opponents, and just really kind of make it uniform across the board.
Well, the FCS is a great debate. I mean, I think there's always a place for FCS too. And I think that we in this state we have some great FCS opponents, with a recent announcement of Dixie College stepping up and heading into the WAC too. So I think at the end of the day, you win the Pac-12 and you get in that championship game and you win it. What happens? Right. We were 7 points away from Pasadena this year. So I think we have to keep our eye on the ball and what makes the most sense for us to be in that position.
All right. Next question coming from Red STL 1012. He says, why is the stadium expansion so far out? Is it a matter of getting funds first, or is the schedule dictated by the builder?
Geez, I thought 21 was right around the corner. No, I appreciate the question. It's something I get periodically. So we're working on this. It's a daily project. We still have another approval process, which we're looking forward to go. But all systems go. We're getting a great reception, fundraising. Remind everybody we need to raise $35 million in philanthropic funds to pay for the project. The development staff is doing a great job securing those funds, and so we keep rolling on. We're going to get close to a design, firm here in the next few months, and we'll continue to update people on the progress. But really, really excited, and obviously a priority project for all of us.
Yeah, not like building a house. It's not a template where you just kind of plug in what you want. This is a custom design, lots of thought going into it. It takes some time, and I think most importantly, you want to get it right.
You got one shot.
You do this. Yes, one shot to get it right.
You got one shot, and but I will say, just our goal is to build it in between seasons, right? Yep. So at the conclusion of the 20 season, we get after it and have it ready to go.
Okay, another question from Jack Ryan SLC asking, Is there anything being done to fix the issues with the worse seats and the higher prices when you buy Pac-12 championship and bowl game tickets through the Utah portal versus third-party sites?
Wow. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Question.
Can you unpack that?
Well, first of all, I love the fact that we're worried and concerned about Pac-12 championship pricing, because I think that's our new space. I think in general what he's getting to is just the different navigation of getting tickets to these postseason games. And I think just going through the championship game and then obviously a high-profile bowl game, we learned a lot too. We learned a lot here. I want to thank all our fans that participated in a survey that went out about the Holiday Bowl, including tickets and how they got them and what we can do better. We had over 1,100 people respond to that survey, and the data is going to be incredible for us to continue to improve in our systems. But I think, it's always a challenge, right? Because at those kind of games, you're given the tickets.
Right.
And sometimes the tickets aren't the premier tickets that our folks are maybe used to, or you're not sitting in the same thing. So we have to take with what we get, and then we have to go through our Crimson Club. And I think anyone understands, folks that donate at certain levels are going to have seats that are perhaps better than others. And I think everyone gets that. Doesn't mean everyone wants that system. But we need to be thoughtful going forward on how we can be competitive to sell out our allotments. We sold it out in the Pac-12. We sold out our allotment in the Holiday Bowl, but then I asked for more, and we didn't quite sell all of those. And I think we have to figure out, be thoughtful about how we can open that up as soon as we can so people are more apt to come. But a lot of people indicated that they came to our allotment because they know it helps, and I'm really appreciative of that. I'm appreciative of everybody who was there, but I do want to continue to work with staff to figure out how we can make sure that our allotment is primary in front of everybody. We'll do our own review to the Pac-12 for both those games, and we'll give our feedback, but appreciate everyone's feedback.
Yeah, great turnout by Utah fans, and third party, you can't always sit by Utah fans. You're amongst everybody else there. And
you can get me going on the advantages of that, and I think we've made it really clear. I think it helps us going forward. It's a great environment, but I understand it. I'm not deaf to the reasons people go to those seats. I really am not dismissive at all. We just have to continue to really explain how it's so important for us and, frankly, for them to come through us.
All right. Mark, we just talked about lacrosse starting up. A question from R.K. Davis in 13. They ask, any thoughts on what might be the next varsity sport at Utah, and has hockey been considered?
My man needs to let us launch the sport on the 1st of February.
Yeah.
Again, appreciate the question. We are not contemplating any further sports additions right now. I mean, this is a big one that we're launching. 60-plus kids on the roster coming in a major sport in lacrosse. We are in a great place right now with where we're at, knowing the winds of change could change certain ways, and the way we look at this stuff. But right now, no plans. Okay,
and one last question from Matt's 439. Just a general question, your thoughts, Mark, on the state of the Pac-12 Conference.
Well, I think, football had its ups and downs this year. We did a little bit better in the bowl season. I always feel that, if you judge too much on the bowl season, you're kind of missing the bigger thing. I thought we stepped forward, but we're certainly not where we want to be as a conference. And, basketball, gosh, it was a tough November, and none of us are going to run from that. I think, we scheduled up in some cases across the board. Here we are now starting early. Speaking of men's basketball, very competitive games. That UCLA-Oregon game, and if anyone saw that, down 9 and come back and win, and certainly our games at Arizona, if you missed them, you missed great games. So, you know me, I'm very bullish on this conference and competitively what we can do and the kind of kids we have. Did notice a lot of football players are coming back next year across the conference. We obviously were an example of that. And remember, we had a lot of new coaches in the league last year.
Yep, good
we certainly saw that in the South. So let's kind of wait and see. Overall, the Pac-12 ADs will meet next week at the NCAA convention. We'll be together all day with the commissioner. We'll look at everything, and I think the commissioner has been very good going through the last few phone calls with us about, hey, let's look at everything. Where can we improve? Where can we, really dig in and help? How can we communicate better with you? How can you guys communicate better with us? And let's continue to move forward. We got some great schools here, Mike.
We sure do.
You know that. And it's not been a great public relations fall, but what is absolutely true is we got some great institutions with great leaderships and great coaches and great kids, and we're going to grind until we get it right.
Yeah, well said. Great people in this league, and it's still one of the best in the country, and a lot of great things to offer, and they have good balance, academics and athletics, and that says a lot. Well, Mark, busy time of the year with basketball, gymnastics, the other sports going on. We're gearing up for spring sports. We appreciate your time. Have a safe trip to the convention, and we'll see you in about a month.
Well, Mike, thank you. And again, Happy New Year to everybody. And just want to thank everybody for their incredible enthusiasm throughout the football season and, of course, through the basketball seasons. Urge everybody to come out and support our young people. Whatever venue it might be, whatever team it might be, we're honored that you come. We know there's choices, but our student athletes and coaches really, really appreciate it. So I look forward to seeing everybody. Make sure you stop by and say hello. Absolutely. All right. For more details, go to UtahEats.com for more details on the stories we talked about today. Thanks to our fans for their questions and for Mark Harlan. I'm Mike Lagershell. Thanks as well to Drew Gitlin for stopping by. That will do it for the Hear It From Harlan podcast. Until next time, so long, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Hear It From Harlan podcast. Subscribe and listen all year long as we keep you up to date on the latest information around the Utah Utes and Athletics Director Mark Harlan.